Our film starts with a guy named Odd Thomas living an extraordinary life because he has a supernatural ability to see things nobody else can. We noticed that his mother also has the same abilities and is currently in a mental hospital because Odd's father always labeled her as crazy due to her unbelievable powers. Odd doesn't like anyone knowing he has the same abilities to avoid being identified as crazy and ending up in a mental hospital like his mom. Among his abilities is the ability to see the souls of the dead who were killed or wronged, and he often sees the soul of a girl named Penny, whom he knew but suddenly disappeared. Odd walks with her until she leads him to a guy named Harlow. Odd is hostile towards him because he knows Harlow killed Penny. Later, Penny touches Odd, allowing him to see everything that happened the day she was killed. She tells him that on that day, Harlow took a white handkerchief and wiped her blood after killing her, and how Harlow has that handkerchief with Penny's dried blood in his pocket. Harlow gets nervous and flees quickly, but Odd chases him until they enter a strange house full of people celebrating and destroying it. Odd manages to easily catch Harlow until the police arrive and take him away. At that moment, Penny appears to Odd one last time, smiles at him, kisses him without saying anything, and walks away. Then the cop White arrives, who knows that Odd can see the dead and is angry at Odd for acting violently towards Harlow instead of reporting him. But Odd tells him that Harlow could have escaped, so he had to act. When asked how he knew Harlow killed Penny, he says he saw a picture of Penny in Harlow's wallet, and when Odd asked him about the picture, Harlow ran away, which made Odd chase him because he felt that Harlow was the one who killed her. And at night, Odd goes back home. On the way, he senses strange noises, feeling like someone is watching him. Suddenly, he encounters a group dressed in red and black who carry him and run. Then, someone unseen shoots them, killing them and injuring Odd. He wakes up the next day without finding the injury, understanding it was just a dream and that danger was near. Later, Odd leaves his house and goes to the restaurant where he works. At that moment, his girlfriend Stormy arrives, whom he deeply loves. We find out Stormy knows about Odd's abilities and tells him she knows what he did with Harlow. He apologizes to her for telling her he wouldn't get himself into trouble again. Then, Odd sees a strange creature named Buttocks in the restaurant, which says these strange creatures hover around people who will encounter trouble or cause trouble. If someone knows about these creatures, they kill them, like they did with someone who had the same ability as Odd. They caused a car accident because they knew he could see them. Odd pretends to be busy and doesn't see the Buttocks at all. Afterwards, Stormy walks with White and Odd notices the Buttocks following her, but he realizes they're actually following another guy who just entered the shop. He explained that they are a sign because massacres and blood are very close to that man since they are attracted to evil and thrive on it. Odd is shocked to see the Buttocks increasing around him. When the man walks away, Odd feels him watching him. Then Viola, the girl who works with him at the shop, arrives and walks with him. She tells him that she dreamed they were killed and everything was shattered around them. Odd gets nervous, and when he looks back at the man, he's gone. She tells him she feels he has the ability to have insight and see the dead, and that his dreams come true. Odd denies it and reassures her that her dream isn't real. Before leaving, he asks her what the people in the dream were wearing, and she says red and black. Afterwards, he continues walking and talks about one of his abilities, which is that when he's looking for someone, he quickly finds them in the area. He then goes to Stormy's ice cream shop and meets her, telling her about the creepy person he saw in the restaurant. There, he sees the man and finds him inside the ice cream shop buying 2 gallons of summer flavor. When the man leaves the shop, all the evil creatures disappear into a hole in the ground, leaving Odd very surprised. So Odd follows the man to discover what the Buttocks will do to him. Odd finds the man inside his house carrying the gallons and then leaving again to get in his car and drive off. Odd enters the man's house and finds it very strange. There, he finds a locked room with strange noises coming from it and a strange coldness spreading throughout the house from that room. Odd enters the room very tense and finds it frozen with cages containing birds. Suddenly, he finds a hole in the wall similar to the hole from which the Buttocks creatures emerge and disappear. When he touches the hole, his hand gets sucked into it and the hole starts expanding, indicating that the Buttocks are about to emerge. So he quickly runs away and hides behind the door of the room. Suddenly, a large number of Buttocks creatures come out of the room, one of them searching for Odd, but they don't find him. Then they leave the house. At that moment, Stormy talks to Odd, and he tells her that he entered the strange man's house and tells her what he saw. Later, he enters a room and finds pictures of strange people. He tells her that he found out from the papers in the office that the man's name is Bob Robertson. He discovers that the date 15th on the calendar is torn, so he guesses that a disaster will happen that day. Then, Odd hears a noise outside, and Stormy gets nervous and asks him to leave quickly, but he keeps looking for any file related to that man. Suddenly, he hears someone in the house calling for Bob angrily, so Odd tries to hide from him and manages to escape from him. Then he goes to Watt's house to inform him that there will be a massacre soon and that he suspects Bob. So Wyatt tells him that he knows him and notices that he's really suspicious but can't find anything on him. He tells him that he will track him and take his full name to gather all the information about him. After a while, Wyatt takes Odd and tells him that Bob doesn't have any old cases against him, so they can't arrest him just because he's strange and suspicious, but he will monitor him and his house. Odd thanks him and tells him he's going to have dinner with Stormy. Then, he goes to Stormy to have dinner at the church tower. Stormy asks him not to go to Bob's house again because he might not come back. Suddenly, Odd sees Bob coming towards them, so he and Stormy quickly run away. On the way, Odd talks to Wyatt and tells him if he goes to the church now, he will find Bob destroying the place entirely. Afterwards, Odd and Stormy go to have dinner. A guy named Ozzy comes in and hands Odd a necklace with a pendant shaped like a heart of steel. He said he got it for him because he always had the vision of a bullet breaking through someone's body and felt that person was the cop. At that moment, the cop calls Odd and tells him that the place is indeed destroyed, but Bob is not there and there are no fingerprints in the place. Later, Odd and Stormy go to the bowling club where Stormy tells him that the disaster might happen there tomorrow, which is the 15th, but he tells her that people there are wearing green and gold. Suddenly, he finds that the attire has changed to black and red, just like he and his colleagues saw in the dream. He calls the cop and tells him he's sure that Bob will cause a disaster at the bowling alley tomorrow. The cop tells him he will send someone to monitor the place. After a while, a cop named Simon arrives at the bowling alley, the one that cops sent to monitor the place. Odd tells him everything that happened with Bob and that he's been trying to attack him for hours, and he shows Simon a picture of Bob. Meanwhile, Stormy tries to change the subject and ask Odd about the tattoo on his hand, to which he tells her it wasn't good before, so he decided to have it done. Then, Odd and Stormy go to Viola to hear more about her dream. Afterwards, Odd tells her he wants to check on her daughters, and when he enters their room, he finds them sleeping, but the Budak's creatures are around them. However, he doesn't want to worry Viola, so he tells her she must leave the house with her daughters and stay away from the bowling area. She agrees and decides to go to her grandmother's house. As Odd and Stormy walk, they stop in the middle of the road to think about what's happening. Stormy tells him how she's very worried about him. Suddenly, they hear a girl screaming, running from the dogs, but before Odd can catch up to her, the dogs have already killed her. A man appears with a gun in his hand, devastated, and tells them he tried to kill the dogs before they reached her, but he couldn't make it in time. The police arrive and the officer tells Odd that the deceased was the girlfriend of a cop working with them named Byrne. He tells them that someone kidnapped her, bait her, and threw her to the dogs. Odd informs them that he has seen these dogs before at Bob's house, so the officer commands Ozzy and him to search for Bob, but Simon tells him that he kept watching Bob until he went to the bowling alley and found nothing, which wasted his time. Stormy gets angry with Simon for not being with her when the girl was kidnapped. The officer orders Odd to go home, and that's enough trouble for today. Before leaving, he gives Odd the glass heart pendant. After that, Odd drops Stormy off at her house. When he returns home, he finds a gun on the floor and Bob dead in the bathtub. He realizes that if he reports this incident, the police will arrest him, so he decides to hide the body. However, he notices that the body is very cold, indicating that he has been dead for a while. He realizes that the Bob he saw at the church was not the same Bob, but his spirit. He understands that the last time he saw him alive was when he was leaving his house in the morning. Then he takes him and hides him in a strange factory. At that moment, the cop gets shot and gets in an ambulance to the hospital. When Odd goes to thank him, his wife tells him that his pendant saved his life when a bullet hit him and that they removed it during surgery. Then he goes to Bob's house to find out more about his killer. When he opens his computer, he finds pictures of strange-looking people and an advertisement for a van for sale. Then he hears a sound in the kitchen. When he opens the fridge, he finds teeth, cockroaches, and a human skull. After he closes the fridge, Bob's spirit appears angry and tries to hit Odd, but he manages to escape before the explosion. On the way, he sees the bullet going towards someone's heart in his vision, and he guesses that person was Bob. So he goes back to the place where Bob's body is and finds the bullet in a tattoo, the same tattoo that Simon has on his hand. He guesses that a massacre will happen at the mall where his girlfriend's store is. He searches around the mall and finds Simon's van there, so he decides to enter the mall from the back door and takes a baseball bat with him. Then he goes to the surveillance room and finds everyone there dead. Suddenly, a masked man appears, but Odd manages to hit him with the bat. He discovers that the cop among the dead was Burns' girlfriend, and we know that he killed her because she revealed his plan. He also realizes that the buttocks were around Bob's body only. Then he takes Burns' gun and discovers that it's the same weapon that the cop was shot with, and he finds out that he was the one who shot him. He notices that the buttocks have spread all over the place and hears someone screaming that there's someone with a gun in the mall. Everyone in the mall panics and tries to leave, but they're shocked to find all the gates were closed. The masked man starts shooting everyone in the mall, including Stormy's ice cream shop, so Odd runs to confront him to save her. The buttocks try to stop him, but he manages to shoot him in the head. He thinks the massacre is over and goes to check on Stormy, finding her safe. At that moment, he sees Burns' girlfriend's spirit, so he follows her and goes to the masked man who killed him. When he removes the mask, he finds the man who had the gun and tried to kill the dogs, realizing he's the same person who entered Bob's house and was angry. Then he runs after Burns' girlfriend, who takes him to the van with explosives. Suddenly, one of the buttocks possesses Simon's body to prevent Odd from leaving the van, and the massacre takes place. Odd gets out of the van before it explodes, leaving Simon hanging onto it. Before the van explodes, Odd realizes that Stormy's ghost is there because she died when the masked man shot at her in the mall. He realizes that all this time he's been living with her ghost because he refuses to accept her death. At that moment, the investigator understands that Odd sees Stormy in front of him, so he tells him he must let her go. So Odd goes to say goodbye to her, and he breaks down when he sees Stormy disappear in front of him. And that's it. If you like this recap, hit like, share, and subscribe to our channel to keep seeing content like this one. If you have any requests or thoughts, drop them below in the comment section, and we will see you at the next one. Peace out!